What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today's video, a full walkthrough of my new Skeeter FXR21. I'm so excited to get this boat back. We fully rigged it. I have this thing completely full of tackle. So we'll jump in the boat here in a little bit and show you guys how I rigged up this boat, how I fill it with tackle, and the things I bring when we're traveling to produce content around the country. First off, the boat. It's a Skeeter FXR21. Now, my first Skeeter that I ever bought was an FXR20, and I loved that boat. It was a foot shorter. It was a quick handling, quick maneuvering, easy to get up on pad boat. I loved it, except Matt and I, we do a lot of content. We fish a lot together. And with that 21 foot, you get that extra foot up on the bow, and there's more room for two big guys to move around and set the hook. So we fish big water, we fish the Great Lakes, we fish a lot of big water, and that extra foot on the 21 is ideal for some of the situations, the sketchy situations that we get in. You can't go wrong with the 20. This year I went with the 21 and I love it. Now, the boat itself. The color might look a little familiar to you guys if you watch Matt's video just a few weeks ago. We went with the same colorway this year. I did rig mine a little bit differently, but if you guys see this black Skeeter or Matt's black Skeeter out on the water, make sure you guys come over to say hi. So let's start off at the bow and we'll work our way towards the motor, and we'll show you guys everything in between. All right, let's start up here on the bow and then we'll jump into the compartments, open up those lids and show you what's really inside my boat. So starting up here at the bow, we have two Apex 16s. Now the reason that Matt and I both went with Apexes a couple years ago is we needed that HDMI out to be able to film those overlays, to be able to show you guys the Lake Master clips without any glare. But since using the Apexes, man, I've been sold on them. The clarity, it's a true HD screen. Having those larger screens, I'm in my 40s now, guys, and it's true, your eyes start going. So having a little bit larger screens really helps if I'm looking at my mapping, my side imaging, my 360, whatever I'm looking at, having it on that little bit larger screen for me really helps me out. Now up here, the Minn Kota Ultrex Quest. This thing is a beast. They completely revamped this motor just a couple years ago. It's a brushless motor. It's super quiet, super powerful. Now, Matt and I, we fish a lot of big water. We fish a lot of shallow water. Having a motor that is reliable, that moves this 21-foot barge around is key. Doesn't draw a ton of power. We can fish multiple days just on the efficiency of this motor. Then we have the target lock and the 360. Now with this motor, you have the spot lock. You guys know, maybe you don't, Matt and I, we live on the Tennessee River. We fish a lot of current. Having this thing spot locked in the current is key. Guys, if you're a ledge fisherman, you're offshore fisherman, you guys understand that that is a must. Pairing that up with target lock and being able to move my Mega Live 2 transducer independently is huge. Spot locking in the current, moving that transducer wherever I need be, that is killer. And then the 360 obviously paired up with the forward-facing sonar and the trolling motor 2D sonar side imaging. It's just, I get to see 360 degrees around my boat. If I'm looking for stumps, rock piles, hard structure, even schools of fish, that thing really helps me out. But guys, this is the bow of my boat. This is where I do the majority of my work, the majority of my fishing to produce those videos. But now let's jump into the compartments and show you guys truly what's inside my boat. All right, let's jump into the main compartment of this Skeeter. This is where I store all of my daily usable stuff. So as you can see, I am super organized. Efficiency, that's just how I am hardwired. I've just always been that way, so I like to have everything organized, everything clean. It just helps me be more efficient on the water. The less time I spend digging through rod lockers looking for a specific bait, the more time I am out there casting and catching fish. So as you can see, this thing's loaded down with Plano boxes. I love how these boxes work, how they break down, how easy they are to use different compartments and all that sort of stuff. So I really, really like these boxes, whether they're the 3600s, the 3700s, 37 deeps. You can see I have boat boxes built. I have top waters, crankbaits, finesse hooks, beast hooks. I have everything right here. On the side, I have all my line, monofilament, fluorocarbon leaders, and then I actually have these Spro boxes right here. So these things are awesome. They break down all of your really finessey techniques into little tiny compartments and makes it super easy and efficient. Again, I said that word multiple times. Being organized and efficient on the water is key for me. But those Spro boxes are amazing for your little terminal tackle. And then Busby bags. If I'm on a specific bite, I will take 4 or 5 bags and put them in the main compartment. I do have the day box here where I'll have individual soft plastic, swim baits, that sort of thing. But if I'm on a bite, I will layer the bags in here. That way they're easily accessible. Again, being efficient, having everything where in a neat and orderly fashion and where I know that it is. I don't have to spend a lot of time looking for it. Again, this might not jive with everybody, but it's a process that works for me. As we travel through around the country, all these different fisheries, having everything clean, organized, labeled is the way to go. Now let's jump over into the rod lockers. I'll show you guys some of the changes I made this year. Real quickly, when we moved to Tennessee, Matt kind of dabbled in that whole fast boat world and really opened my eyes to balancing of boats. You don't even realize that your boat is a little bit out of balance. And so moving some weight around has really helped me and helps especially when I'm fishing solo on the water, but I'll dive more into that when we open up these rod lockers. So normally I have my rods in this rod locker, but this is something that I've changed the last 18 months or so. And I took my rods from this rod locker and put them over to the driver's side rod locker. And again, we're talking about balancing your boat. Again, this is a barge. This FXR21 is so stable. But when you just have a little bit of discrepancy, it affects your fuel efficiency and just your overall ride. And so, again, playing around in that fast boat world, moving my heavier soft plastics over here has worked this year. So let's start off with this guy. This is my Sunline bag. You guys know how important fishing line is. This is where I have most of my bulk spools if I have to re-spool a specific rod or reel. That's where I have all of my bulk line. So those are 1,200 yard spools. That gets me by. If I'm hitting the road for a week or 10 days, I could spool several reels on one of those spools, and that's what works. But as far as baits, well, here we go, leader line. Here's all my Seaguar Gold Label. And again, these Busby bags are awesome. They're breathable, so you don't have to worry about moisture staying trapped. This Skeeter has a built-in fan system, so it's called Dry Dock. I can plug in the boat, turn that on, and it runs air through all my compartments, which helps keep all this stuff moisture free. So that's my leader line. You can see I have all of my swim baits. There's my swammer, 4.4-inch swammers, all the way through to Senkos, thin Senkos, flukes, drop shot, spunk shad, swammer. I have all of it here in this compartment. Again, taking the rods out of this compartment, putting them over there, putting all the heavier soft plastics over here has really kind of helped with fuel efficiency. So let's jump over and show you guys the rod locker. All right, so over here we have the rod locker, and we get this question asked a ton. Can you put 8-foot rods in there? Yes, we have several big swim bait rods in here, no issues. But you can see this is the first look of actually the 2 5-port boxes and the fuse block by Hennessy Outdoors. They have everything nicely neat and tucked away up out of the way, but easily accessible if I have to access any of the fuses. But the rod locker itself, you can see super organized, really clean, 3 levels to put rods. You can put, I mean, I just got back from a trip. I had 23 rod and reel combos in here. So lots and lots of storage. Again, when you're traveling as much as we are, you never know what the bite's gonna be. You could be fishing clear water, smallmouth one day, and shallow, murky water for largemouth the next day, and you gotta be able to carry all of it. So having the bigger platform, having a lot more room for storage is key. But these rod lockers are deep, big rods fit in them, and lots of room to stack a lot of combos. So here we are at the office, the console of this Skeeter FXR21. I have dual Humminbird Apex 13s. Again, the clarity of the Apexes is top notch. Having the ability to have that HDMI out is key for us, being able to overlay those overlays without glare and reflections and all that good stuff. But typically how I have this set up, I have my mapping over here. I like to run a full-sized map. That's really important, especially when you're navigating waters you've never been on before. Matt and I, we fish a ton of new water. We try a lot of different lakes, and some are mapped with cards, some aren't, but having a full-size map really helps us navigate safely. Now over here, I typically run side imaging up top and then down imaging in 2D. We'll do more in-depth on the water videos here shortly, but that's how I have this set up. Again, it helps with breaking down fisheries fast, efficient. You guys have heard that word already, but that's how I have it set up. Down here, you have the command center by Skeeter. Now, Skeeter has completely rewired these boats. They went and improved all of the wiring with the advancements of today's electronics and having the draw off of these electronics, having thick wire, big gauge wire really helps with clarity. They've completely invested in all new wiring in all of their new Skeeters, and it is crystal clear. With that said, Matt and I are blessed to have one of the top shops in the entire country right here in Dayton, Tennessee, Hennessy Electronics. You probably saw Matt's video a few weeks ago where we were in the shop and did his boat walkthrough. But I want to talk about one thing real quick, and that's this guy right here. This is the Hennessy harness. Completely upgraded wire, fuse boxes, breakers. That is how we get our screens crystal clear. We've had friends from out of country drive all the way down to Dayton to have their boats rigged just like ours. We have people coming from all over the United States to have Brig and the guys at Hennessy rig their boats because they do such a top-notch job. But if you're a guy that doesn't have a local shop or have Hennessy Outdoors close by, the stock wiring in these new FXRs are top-notch. Now let's jump to the back of the boat and I'll show you some of the changes I made on this year's boat. All right, we've arrived at the stern of the boat. So real quickly, I'll get this out of the way. This is like a little box that I have my prop wrench in, spare trolling motor parts, spare trolling motor props, battery tester. That's all in case I have to change a trolling motor prop on the water. Really easy, simple to do. Now, back here, you guys probably saw in Matt's video, you saw how we had it laid out. I chose to do mine just a little bit differently because I've talked about it earlier in this video, balance. Sometimes I do fish by myself and I want that fuel efficiency. I want to be completely balanced. I moved my heavy cranking battery over to the passenger side of the boat just to kind of counterbalance my weight at the console. But starting here, a 320 amp hour Dakota Lithium battery. You'll notice there's 5 batteries back here. This battery is specifically ran to my electronics. It is its own battery for my electronics. That's how we get that clarity. I can fish multiple days without having to charge. That is huge. As much as Matt and I travel, we never know if we're gonna be able to plug in our boats at the end of the night or the end of the day. So having 320 amp hours is huge. Over here, I have my AGM cranker. Again, running that Yamaha SHO. Still need to run that AGM cranker. That's the Odyssey. That thing is a beast. No issues there. Over here, still running a 3 battery system for my trolling motor. I don't run a 36 volt single battery. I run 3 12 volts and I connect that system, and that has worked for Matt and I for the last decade or so. But having that 135 amp hour battery, again, just prolongs my day, my time out on the water. You can see everything is run through here from Hennessy, super clean, easily accessible. That is huge because as much as we travel, it just seems like it never fails that there might be something that goes wrong, and being able to work on these boats, being able to access the wires, the harnesses, the breakers, the fuses, all that stuff just saves us time on the water. Now let's jump over here to this guy. Powering this entire battleship is the Yamaha SHO 250. And all I can say about this motor right here is it's dependable. Matt and I, we explore a ton. We get ourselves in some sketchy situations. We fish big water, and you don't want to break down on the Great Lakes, right? You don't want to break down in the 50 or 60 miles up a river with no cell service. Dependability. Being able to sit at that console and pick a place on that Lake Master card and be like, I want to run to this 40-mile point and know I'm going to get there and I'm going to get back safely with no issues. That's huge. And when we're filming 5 and 6 days a week, we're traveling all over the country, dependability matters. It is so efficient, never had an issue. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself, but between Matt and I, we've ran this motor now for several years and never had a hiccup, and that is huge. So the SHO is really the thing that powers this entire office. And then back here, we have the 8-foot Minn Kota Raptors, hydraulic anchors that makes it easy for launching your boat solely by yourself, makes it easy for getting in rough water, anchoring down, fishing a certain spot without having the wind, the waves move your boat all around. It just helps with stability, but having those hydraulic anchors, I mean, those Raptors are so strong. When you deploy them in the garage or on the ground, you can feel it lift that boat up. They are extremely strong, and I love having those on my boat. So let's jump over to the trailer real quick and then we'll wrap it up. I want to wrap up this video kind of in a weird, funny place, but we're going to talk about this guy right here. This trailer is actually what led to Matt and I eventually joining Team Skeeter, Team Yamaha. A few years ago, I was researching bass boat trailers. I've been plagued with driving around the country with axle issues, bearing issues. I didn't need a new boat. I wasn't looking for a new boat, but it led to both Matt and I purchasing our first Skeeters. And this boat, I tow it all around the country, and I've never had an issue in the last few years running this trailer right here. It helps me be more efficient on the water. When I'm laying in bed at night stressing about if I'm gonna make it to my next location, it just wasn't working. And like I said, that's eventually what led us to this whole package right here. And I couldn't say thank you enough. Hopefully you guys saw it in Matt's video, but being asked to join Team Skeeter, being asked to join Team Yamaha is because of you guys. You know, this journey started many years ago in float tubes and little aluminum boats, and just trying to give back to the fishing community that's done so much for Matt and I, and we can't say thank you enough. So because of you guys and the awesome subscribers you are, it has allowed us to have a platform and now a fishing platform, and we couldn't be more excited. But guys, as always, thank you. Can't wait to get out on the water, shoot some content out of this boat, catching fish around the country, and help you guys along the way. As always, guys, we appreciate the support. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys on the next video.